In this video we are looking at the Straight Talk Huawei Pronto LTE. This phone retails for $149.99. It is a large 5-inch screen device. So while it sounds like it's a fairly expensive device for a Huawei, because those are usually around the $100 price range, do keep in mind that this is both LTE and 5-inch touchscreen. So the specs on this phone are Android 4.4. You get the 1.2 quad-core processor. It does have a 5 megapixel camera and a 2 megapixel front-facing camera. It will be activated with AT&T, and again, you do need the LTE coverage in order to get the LTE speeds. Now, as far as the size of this phone, do be aware that this is quite a large phone. As I said at the beginning, the screen is 5 inches. So the dimensions on this one are going to be quite large. The height is about 5 3/4, right around there. The width is right at around 3 inches. I guess a little bit less than that. We got 2.85-ish. Now, the one thing that I do like about this phone is that it is very slim. The thickness on this one is 0.36. So it is a very slim phone. A lot of the other lower end Huawei's tend to be a little bit more clunky and a lot thicker. This one is not that way at all. Because of the size, the phone is pretty heavy. It weighs in a little bit less than 6 ounces, which is quite a heavy phone, seeing as most typical phones are at around the 5-ounce mark, a little bit less than that. So this phone almost weighs in at 6 ounces. Now, on the design, that's another thing that I like about this phone, and that's the fact that you don't have any Android buttons here at the bottom. So instead, what you have are those floating buttons, which are becoming kind of more popular on some of the higher end devices. And this kind of brings me to one of the things that I find annoying about this phone, and that's the fact that for some reason they left out the none of these buttons do that, and there is no icon to do it. And that's basically a way to get to all the apps. So here I have another Android. This is just a little LG. So for example, this icon to get to all your apps, this Huawei Pronto does not have that for some reason, which is weird to me. So I spent about 30 minutes looking for a way to enable that, and I never did find a way to do it. So that kind of leads me to the conclusion that this phone does not have that button available. So what happens is it has a couple of groupings. So here we have the Google grouping. Here we have a tools grouping. So in order for you to add something that's not already there, or for you to get to something that's not already here, you're gonna have to go into the grouping, tap that plus button, look for it. So say for example I wanted to add voice search or use it often. That's the only way to add it as far as I could tell. Now from here, of course, you can drag it to your main screen if you want to, but there is again no way to go to all the apps view. You have to add the ones that you use the most to it if you need them. That said, all the popular ones are already added. So like you have YouTube, the Play Store, etc., camera, so you don't need to add those. So if it's one of those kind of not so popular apps that some people like to use, then you will need to do what I just showed you. So that is one thing that I really do not like about this phone, and that's that you don't have a way to get to that. But the rest of the design is pretty good. I do like it. Again, I do like the slimness of it. There is your headphone jack. There's a charge port. And that kind of brings me to item number 2, which I don't like. And that's the fact that these buttons are right next to each other. So until you get a little bit used to it, if you have it like this, you think you're pressing the volume button, but in reality, you're pressing the lock button. So I did that a couple of times at first, so that will need some getting used to, and it is kind of something that's a little annoying for me anyway. Now, but the rest of the phone does look pretty good. You do have this kind of black chrome trim going around it. It's not super flashy, but it's not cheap looking by any means. And the one thing again that stands out is the fact that it's very slim. Now, if you're getting this phone, of course, you probably want to see what the video quality looks like, and that's where this phone really shines, I think, because of the large screen. And as you would expect, you get a nice and large video with good video quality. And the sound quality is also above average on this phone. Here's a speaker which has a little bit larger opening than usual. So it does make for a really good multimedia device. Great video and sound quality as well. And of course, you get the usual Play Store. You can download whatever you'd like, freebies and paid. You will need a Google account, of course. And then here we have the Maps application. Phone has a quad-core processor, so there is no problem in terms of performance. I always like to kind of look at that or judge that based on this. If it zooms and pinches, like when you pinch and zoom and rotate, if it responds quickly, then I think it's a responsive phone. And this one has no problems with that whatsoever. Another thing I like about this phone is the large icons for the keys when texting. So that makes this a very easy phone to text with, even if you are in portrait mode like this. Okay, the last thing we'll look at is the camera. It is 5 megapixels, so it's not super high in resolution, but it does take nice pictures. The one cool thing about the camera that I like is the fact that you have a lot of settings and you have a lot of these cool effects and filters, HDR, panorama, and here we have more stuff. So you can see you have original, aqua, posterized, sepia, and a few others. So it's always cool when the camera has all that good stuff, and this phone does have that. But do keep in mind it is just 5 megapixels, so the images aren't going to be, outstanding. They will be good. So I would say the camera is a little bit above average on this one. So I think that about brings me to the end of this video. Overall, I would recommend this phone if you're looking for a high or a large screen device and an LTE data speeds. Again, the retail on this is $149.99, and you will need the AT&T coverage area to activate this particular phone.